Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. So today I just want to first off I want to say thank you to all of you who watched the video yesterday and all of you who shared the video. I thank everyone that called me, that texted me, that sent a message some kind of way to me to let me know how inspiring, how encouraged you were by the video. I'm asking you to continue to share the video. I believe that it was a word from the Lord. I believe that many people will be blessed and encouraged and inspired, and not just inspired, but inspired to make a decision. Some people told me that from the video yesterday, they got an understanding of some things that God was trying to speak to them prior. Another person told me that they just really heard the voice of God. And, I heard different reports back on what the video did for various people. So that's why I'm asking you to continue to share the video and let God do his work in the video. Amen. So today I have a special guest with me, and it's Minister Jovan. She's going to come on and speak to us about where we're at and how to cope with where we're at, and just various things. And so I pray that you'll be blessed. I pray that you'll be encouraged and inspired, and that you'll take some of the information that she's given you and put in place. So be encouraged. Stay strong in the Lord. Definitely do not fear. Be courageous. Stay strong. Don't fear a thing. Do not fear. Be strong in the Lord, in the power of his might. It's going to take God to move for us. It's going to take Jesus to move for us. And we, the saints of God, we just going to keep praying, and we're going to keep praying. We're going to keep worshiping. We're going to keep putting our faith and hope and trust in the Lord. So I encourage you to, once you watch this video, to pass it on, because not everybody knows what she's going to be talking about. Not everybody knows that we need to learn to have some skills and information to deal with where we're at. So God bless you, and I'll see you at the end of the video.
Hi YouTube, my name is Minister Jovan, and I'm going to share some information that Pastor Gina asked me to share. Based upon my graduate education, I pursued my master's in clinical counseling, professional clinical counseling, and I'm currently waiting on my license in the mail. So I'm basically a licensed counselor. So I'm just going to share some information regarding the pandemic that we're all experiencing, how it can be traumatic, and then also some different ways for us to cope with it. I do have some notes here on my lap, so I may be looking down a couple times, just so you know. But it's important for us to acknowledge that the pandemic that we're all going through is considered a crisis, and so therefore it is a traumatic experience. We're all experiencing it on a different level, but it is a traumatic experience. And so this particular type of trauma, because there's different types of trauma, but this particular type of trauma is called collective trauma. And so that's a type of traumatic event or situation that affects a group of people. That could be a church, a city, a state, an organization, an ethnic group, a country, or in this case, is the entire world. It is a global pandemic. So we are globally and collectively being affected by this. And so we are globally and universally, collectively experiencing a traumatic event. So traumatic events, they can impair us and cause us to feel different emotions, negative emotions such as panic, fear, grief, anxiety, different things like that. There was actually some research done on the pandemics of the Ebola virus, which was not too long ago, and influenza, and the effects or the consequences mentally and people's mental health that they experience by going through these pandemics. And so what the research showed was that there was a dramatic increase in stress, de-stress, traumatic stress, post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, feelings of hopelessness, anxiety, panic, and grief. So it's a known thing that when we experience pandemics, when we experience this collective trauma, these negative emotions are going to increase for everyone. And so how the scar manifests for each person, like I said, we're all experiencing it, but it's different. How the scar will manifest itself is different, but we are all collectively carrying this wound. We'll be able to look back and say, I went through this, and this is how I experienced it. This is how it impacted me. And so all of these negative emotions we know already that they negatively affect our body. They weaken our immune system, and having a weak immune system is not something that any of us would want in this time. So fear, stress, anxiety, they weaken our immune system if we don't learn to cope with them properly. They can cause cardiovascular damage, GI problems such as ulcers or irritable bowel syndrome. They can impair the formation of long-term memories. It can also cause damage to a part of your brain called the hippocampus. And so what can happen if there's damage to that part of the brain is that it later on makes it more difficult for you to regulate when fear is necessary. So we've all experienced that fight or flight type of mode. And so if there's damage to that part of the brain, you don't know when that fight or flight mode is absolutely necessary. So you're continuing to live in that state of fight or flight. So you're always on edge, you're always on 100. And that's not a state that we want to be in, because that breaks the body down. We could also experience headaches, muscle pain, chest pain, fatigue, restlessness, high blood pressure. It can increase your heart rate, so that puts you at a higher risk for a heart attack, lack of focus, different things like that. It breaks your body down. And then cognitively, it can also lead to intrusive thoughts or memories. It could cause flashbacks, nightmares, or even cause you to avoid different situations. So an example of something of how this can trigger you later on if you don't deal with it, say you know someone, or you unfortunately contract the COVID-19, the coronavirus, and maybe you're on your deathbed, or you feel like you're on your deathbed. I've heard a few people say they felt like death was knocking at their door because of the difficulty of breathing. So going through that, thinking you might die at any moment, is a traumatic experience. But say you make it out, you recover, you're good to go, but you don't properly deal with or process the feelings of being on your deathbed. What could happen later is you're now triggered by just as germs. Maybe you're a germaphobe. Now you never want to be around germs because you think you contracted it from this. And so you're always on edge, wiping things down. And, now you're obsessive and compulsive about these type of things. Or, maybe you get a cold later on because typically, there is flu season. People typically get colds when it's colder outside, like in the winter. Or maybe you have allergies and you start to get like a scratchy throat, but now you're emotionally triggered, thinking, I may have the virus again, or I may die again. And so these emotions come rushing back: the anxiety, the fear, the panic, because you didn't take the time to properly cope and deal with them. So that's something that we want to avoid. And maybe the situation that you experience may not be as deep, or may not be as bad or as heavy as getting the virus and almost dying, but maybe you are experiencing, losing a job, or having to be in the house all day with your kids. These kinds of things, just a change in your life situation and not knowing what's next, is traumatic. None of us know what's next. No one, literally, from the person with the most power to the person with no power, the person with the most money to the person with the least amount of money. No one knows what's next. And so that can have an effect on us and trigger some emotions. And so we want to learn to some different ways that we can cope with them. And so I'm just going to share some different ways. It's important that during this time, like I said, it's a collective thing, right? So we're all experiencing it, whether it's on one level or the other. So it's important that we support ourselves and others through this time. We're all going through something. It's hit us all in some way, shape, or form. So we want to try and be supportive of others and understanding of others. And maybe there's someone you go to the supermarket and they're not nice, or they're just grumpy to be grumpy. You don't know, maybe they're not processing their emotions properly, or you don't know what level of trauma that this has hit them on. So we want to try and just be supportive of one another. We want to stay connected with people. A lot of states are shutting things down. A lot of states are on lockdown in general. So it's kind of hard, especially if physical touch or quality time is one of your love languages. The virus doesn't care, right? So you want to find ways that you can stay connected with people. It's 2020. There's all types of different technology where we can FaceTime or video chat. Netflix has came up with a thing, I think it's called Netflix Party, where you can stream and watch movies, things on Netflix with other people, ways to stay connected. So we want to find ways to stay connected with people, because we don't know how long we will be disconnected. We don't know how long we will have to social distance. So find ways to stay connected. Another thing we want to remember is that when all else fails, we need to remember the basics. We need to be getting enough sleep, we need to be eating well, and we need to be exercising. I was glad when they closed my gym, but the fact is, I still need to exercise because these things help you keep up a healthy immune system. They also help you to cope effectively. They help you to regulate stress, depression, and anxiety and process different information when you get enough sleep, when you're eating properly, and when you've been able to move your body. So, a lot of places have been shut down, but you can still walk around your neighborhood. Just keep 6 feet away from people you don't know. So we want to get out and make sure that we're getting those walks, especially as springtime is now here. It's getting warm outside. So make sure we're still taking care of ourselves so that we can have the ability and have the strength to regulate everything else that's going on. Another thing is, just as people were getting like their pandemic survival kit, or you would have like a tool, a medical toolkit, like a first aid kit, you want to have like a coping toolkit. What do you have? What activities do you have? Or what thing can you do that you have in your back pocket that makes you feel safe, that makes you feel grounded, and increases your quality of life or brings you joy? You want to have those things that you can rely on. It could be a person, like every time I call this person, they just crack jokes and they make me laugh. So this person I'm going to put in my coping toolkit. When I'm starting to feel on 100, when my anxiety is crazy, or I just need to laugh, I'm going to call this person because I know that they're going to make me laugh. Or working on my garden. This brings me a sense of peace. This keeps me grounded. So I'm going to do this. Whatever it is, we all need those things. We should have had them anyway, but now life has caused us to slow down. And so it's time to take kind of account or take inventory of what we have in our coping toolkit and keep those things safe. Keep those things close rather, so that when you start to feel like your emotions aren't regulated and they're high, you can reach into your toolkit and get out what you need. It's important for sure that we all are aware of what's going on. You don't want to not watch the news and then get caught outside with the National Guard because you didn't know your state was on lockdown, right? So it's important that we are all staying alert but not being anxious. We want to be alert and aware of what's going on, but we don't want to be anxious. We don't have to watch the news all day long, even though it seems like every 2 minutes they're changing something or the numbers are increasing. But the fact of the matter is the numbers are going to increase every day. So you don't have to watch every day, every moment of every day to see how high the numbers have gone. So we want to make sure we're guarding our hearts and being mindful of what we let into our eye gates and our ear gates, because the information is a lot. It's overwhelming. It seems like there's literally nothing else happening in the world and no one's reporting the good news, right? So they're not saying, oh, by the way, over 80,000 plus people currently have also recovered. They're not reporting that. So we want to make sure that we're just guarding our hearts and being mindful of what we're letting in. You don't have to watch the news all day. A couple other ways, just small things, like I said, make sure we're going outside. Focus on what you can control, right? We can't control anything that's going on. You can't control whether you're going to work, not going to work, getting a paycheck, not getting a paycheck, what's open, what's closed. We can't control anything. What we can control are our emotions. What we can control is how we feel and what we do with those emotions. So that's what we need to focus on. We can't focus on anything else because it's going to allow those negative emotions to continue to increase if you focus on the lack of consistency, the lack of information that's even being given. No one knows when this is going to be over. It's not like there's a manager of the coronavirus that we can speak to and find out when this is all going to be over. We don't know. So we need to focus on what we can control, and what you can control is your response to these things. Or take this time and do nothing. When's the last time you've been able to just rest? When's the last time you've been able to binge watch a show and just turn your mind off and say, I'm not going to worry about anything. I'm not going to think about anything. I'm just going to rest. This is a time where I believe we are purposely being slowed down for a reason. So take advantage of being slowed down. Some people don't like it. They like to go, 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 go. But we need to pause sometimes. So it doesn't have to be every day. You don't have to just lay around and do nothing. But take some time to just rest. Take some time to turn your mind off, watch mindless TV or, YouTube videos or things that have nothing to do with the virus. Another thing we can do is worship. Spend some time with Jesus, right? Everything we need is in the presence of God. And so if you go into his presence anxious, you'll come out with peace. If you go into his presence with anger or frustration, you'll come out with joy. And so we want to try to go into his presence more. We don't got nothing but time anyway, right? So spend some time worshiping with God. That will help you to calm down, to regulate those emotions. That's who he is. He's an emotion regulator. He can do whatever we need. So take the time to enter into his presence and spend more time with God. And one last thing, a couple other things, and then I'm done. Another thing, you just want to work on your thoughts, what you're thinking, and your perspective of the situation. It's not good for anybody. Literally, no one is benefiting from the situation. And so that's what we have to remember. We're all in this together. Transparency moment. My birthday is at the end of March. The virus doesn't care. Literally nothing I planned for my birthday is happening. And I was so sad because my birthday is important to me for personal reasons. But the virus doesn't care. And so what someone said to me was, while your birthday is important, you have to understand everyone is going through this. Everyone's life has been altered in some way, shape, or form. So take solace, take peace in knowing that you're not alone. This is not a situation that you're going through alone. And it won't always be like this. The United States, the world has gone through different global pandemics before, and they've made it out. It may not have been, of course, the best result, because we don't want anyone to die, but we made it out. And so there will be an end. So focus on that. There will be a time where you can get them kids back in school. There will be a time where you can go back to life as normal. There will be a time where you can go out and you don't have to stay 6 feet away, and you can go to the store freely, and you'll get the money back that you lost. There will be a time where all things will be restored. So bank on that. Put your perspective on that. This will not be my situation always. So in kind of closing, everyone copes with these emotions, right? Everyone copes with emotions differently. Everyone experiences these emotions. What we want to make sure we're doing is we're finding positive ways, the things that I named, and I'm pretty sure you can come up with some on your own, to cope. Doing drugs, getting drunk every day, those are coping skills for people who have like substance abuse issues. But literally everyone who has a substance abuse issue has an underlying traumatic experience or an underlying emotion that they're not dealing with. So they're using those things, or negative things, or even people who, are promiscuous and things like that. They're using those things to cope with what they're feeling and cope with what they're not dealing with. We want to make sure that we're using positive coping skills. We want to make sure we're using something that will benefit us in the end. That when this is over, maybe we're more level-headed. When this is over, we can say, yeah, I went through the coronavirus and I took that time and this is how I benefited. I was able to regulate my emotions. I was able to be more centered. I was able to grow my relationship with God. So we want to make sure we're coping in a positive way. So you can use anything that I suggested. You can use things that you can come up with on your own. I'm pretty sure some of us probably already have our own coping skills, but I want to encourage you to rely on those things and not the chaos and the fear that they're selling on TV. They're literally selling fear. So step away from the TV, step away from all the news reports, and center yourself and your emotions. Stabilize those emotions. And like I said, take solace in the fact that we are all going through this together. Your neighbor, your cousin, your uncle, your boss. It may hit us differently. It may scar us differently, but it's a collective wound. We're all carrying it. So I hope this helped you guys. And I encourage you to, like I said, find some things that work for you. I hope that on the other side of this thing, we're all better in some way, shape, or form. Find maybe something. My mom, Pastor Gina, she's been redoing her room. She's like, when this is over, this whole house gonna be done. So maybe you've been wanting to, change your bedroom, change your bathroom, redo this, redo that. Now you got time. Do that. I'm going to take the time to go back to my garden that I started a couple years ago and didn't have time to. So now I have time to do it. So I just encourage you to find something to regulate those emotions so you don't tear yourself down physically. And and weaken your immune system, or now end up dealing with something else that we don't want you to have to deal with. All right, so yep. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you for watching the video. I hope that you were able to take something away from the video. I hope that you were able to put some things in place. And out of all of the things that Minister Javon said, I find that the most important thing that she said was to spend some time in the presence of the Lord. If you know him, spend some time in the presence of the Lord. But if you do not know him, you can go back to my previous video and find out how to get to know him. And then you can put some of these things in place. You can take what she said about spending time in the Lord and in your word, and worship him, and couple it with those things that she told you. God wants us to be well in all areas of our lives. He said in his word, I wish above all things that you prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers. So God is interested in the wellness of us all the way around, not just interested in our physical health, but he's interested in our spiritual health, our mental health, our psychological health. He's interested in having whole people. And so I hope that you were blessed, and I thank you for tuning in. I thank you for being a part of the Hall of Fabulosity. And if you find these videos inspiring, encouraging, life-changing, I'm asking you to share, because we need each other at this time. So I'll see you in another video. God bless you. Bye.